Here we go. Okay, so this is the introductory course for Diablo 2 Resurrected Speedrunning. The biggest thing that you need to know is that most of this is just like pretty introductory. There could be like I could go way more in depth into a lot of different things, but I'm trying not to like. We don't need to get into like math, okay? So I'm not gonna be doing any of that weird stuff. Okay. So these are all the major points that we'll be hitting. It's going to start with basically tile sets because it's going to be the #1 most important thing for just about everybody to know. We're going to be going over party compositions, splits, which basically just means like at a certain point, like instead of everybody going like to one place, like let's just say everybody goes to the Den of Evil to complete it. Instead, everybody will split up and do some different things at the same time. We're going to go over shopping, what kind of gear you might expect, and like what you're going to be aiming for. Is your party planning on just doing Hail Bell, or do you want to go further than that? And what that looks like. We're going to be going over call-outs, the order of importance for all of these things, and also there's a little bit of music playing in the background if you guys can hear it, and if it ever gets distracting, just let me know. Okay, so anytime you guys have a question that you want to ask, I just ask that you put it in the chat. Does everybody know how to open up the chat in the Discord channels? Like for VoIPing? So like in the chat room that we're currently in, if you hover over the name of it, you'll see open chat bubble and a create invite channel, or a little button. You'll just click on the open chat.
Okay.
And so yeah, if you guys have any questions or something like that, best place to put them is going to be there, so we can go over them thoroughly. You can, add a little emoji if you want to ask a question like in the moment or whatever. But other than that, we will also want to keep like any kind of side speech to a minimum, although it is a lot smaller than the people that originally said they were going to be in here, so we might be able to do a little bit more of that. I'm Inks. I joined the guild last season, played all through the season. We did a speedrunning thing last season as well. We did the speedrunning this season. We improved an hour over last season. To be fair, some of that we had some issues, but we also had some issues during this speed run as well that slowed us down quite a bit. So hopefully, like next time we do this, we'll cut another hour off. That'd be awesome. Why know all of this? It can be for a bunch of different reasons. One of the biggest reasons I would just say is who wants to like go to Hail Bell day 2? Right? Like, who wants to be the guy day 3 asking the guild, hey, can somebody, like, get me to Hell Bell? I'm still in Nightmare, right? Like, you want to be, in my opinion, day 1, like, I'm already farming this crap. Like, I'm making the money right now. Like, everything's still worth a lot of money. And that's a lot of, like, why it helps you, is it puts you way ahead in the economy to be, like, the first person to start farming keys and stuff like that. Because key sets and stuff are going to be worth a lot more at the beginning of the season than they are going to be worth later on in the season. That holds true for most things, not everything. Okay, so first thing we're going to go over is tiles. This is going to be the magic. This is going to be some of the ways you might find this on YouTube is going to be called the map hack for your mind, because if you ever watch somebody do this, it's going to look like they're using a map hack because they just know how to move everywhere, okay? We're going to be going over, as well as that, reverse layouts and some impossible spawns. Like one is, this one I picked up from No Filler, and he remembers it as Tomei Never Fly Southwest, and that is because, we'll go ahead and pull this up right now. Okay, so in the Black Marsh, you have this, you have, like, and everywhere you go, you have tile sets, right? Well, in this direction right here, so basically you will never, on this side of the map right here, you will never, ever, ever have the Tomei Highland exit from this side. right? So if you're trying to push through the game like really, really fast, let's just say you spawned in at the waypoint, right? And you want to go to like the pit, right? Which would be like not in this zone. Well, the fastest way generally in everything in Act 1 will be, oh, well, let me look around. I'll see if I can find the road to get there. But another cool thing is you can just go everywhere looking for that road, and you know I don't have to look down here in the southwest because Tomei will never be in the southwest section, right? And here's the Countess. Cool. All right, so now we're going to get into some layouts real fast. So some layouts that like everybody wants to know is something like the Durance, right? Cygis has talked to me about a few times about it this season. He's like, how do you like? I don't. A lot of times, like people having issues with like tile sets and stuff like that, right? They don't understand how they work. So this tile set is this right here, okay? This whole little square that you see is the tile entrance for the Durance waypoint, okay? So what that means is whenever you're in the Durance, it's always left to find the Durance level 3, right? So that if you're trying to do Mephisto runs, this is going to speed up your Mephisto runs like way faster, double, sometimes triple the time to get yourself to Mephisto, because you just know, hey, as soon as I leave here, I'm just going to go just like this. And, oh, I can't go that way, right? Well, that's okay, because you just keep taking yourself to the left, and here it is. Boom. Durance level 3. Almost like I had a map hack. I didn't have to do anything. I just went straight to the exit, right? You can do this with most areas in the entire game. Most of them have been mapped out. This is some of like what it might look like. I plan on putting this together and just disseminating it to the guild. It'll just be a spreadsheet full of basically map hacks, right? So like some of this stuff is like not super useful information, but some of it is super useful. Like underground passage, okay? I'm sure if you've ever played through the game just like by yourself, or you've ever played through the game like with a group, going through the underground passage is not a fun thing, okay? It's full of like windingness, like you spend a lot of time while you're going through it. You spend a lot of times like winding through like a bunch of pointless like you're going to like level 2 and stuff when you could have been going to like get to the Dark Wood the whole time. And I'll just show y'all what that looks like real fast. Actually, this is a good one too. So in the Cold Plains, it is a big square. Okay, so like if I go through the whole area, I'll show you all why it is just a big square every time. Because it kind of takes mapping it all for you to tell. And I didn't even go in there, but I'll still be able to tell you what that zone is we just passed because of the way the tiles work. Okay. Now, okay, so this is a big square. It doesn't look like it 100% because it's got, you know, these little areas where it's kind of cut out. But if you just drew the line all the way across, it would just be a giant square, okay? Now, when you look at this, which one do you think this one's goes to the Blood Raven, or do you think this one goes to the Blood Raven?
Oh, the top one.
Okay, so the top one is actually Stony Fields.
Oh,
And this one is going to be to the Blood Raven. And the reason why you know this is in the center of the square, like the closest to the center of the square, that's going to be always to the Stony Fields. Like it's going to be in a center, right? And when it's off in the corner like this, that means it's going to be the Blood Raven. And so proof, we'll show it right now.
Okay.
Here you go, Burial Grounds.
Okay.
And here's the Stony Fields, right? So this is just more and more information that's going to like help you, right? And like all through Act 1, basically, like other than like a few splits like this, like goes to the burial grounds and like goes to Stony Fields, you have like to just follow the road, right? It's always, the road is always going to like lead you where you need to go. So like here in the underground passage, the way it is you, here is the first opening tile. This is the opening tile. So the way you go from the tile, it's not, so like which way did we come in, right? Some people will say, well, you came in like this, right? But that's not how it works. This whole tile is the way we came in. So to get out of the underground passage level 1 to go to the Darkwood, we're going to go straight across, right? And something also to know if you're walking it, because sometimes you're walking, right? If you see the red guys, it's like general, like you don't want to go up here because you know that's the wrong way because you see the red fallens, okay? And you just keep going, shooting straight across, and there we are. We're in the Darkwood now, right? And that is going to be like every single, if the more you know, like you saw how fast I was able to teleport these zones just by, you know, having a little bit of knowledge on, you know, which way you're going to go, how this is done, so on and so forth, right? Okay. So there are some places known as that have reverse layouts, right? What that means is like sometimes you're going to go into the Durance of Hate level 2, right? And when you're going to go to your left, right? Because see this tile, you go left to enter it. Well, sometimes you'll have something like this. Let me pull it up. It's I have it saved here. Okay, well, I don't have it in my thing saved, but there's a few other ones that I'll show you all in a minute. But okay, so basically what it's going to look like is you're going to think like it'll be, this will be right here, but behind you. Okay, so how do you go in there, right? You're gonna think, oh, I got to go left, but you had to travel right, and right to get into it. Okay, but you still are entering it from the left. See how that works? And that's what you call a reverse layout. And so it can get confusing for some people because they're like, but I didn't go left to enter it. But you did go left because it's all from the orientation of the entrance tile. Okay? So a few other examples of this is going to be right here. This is the Durance level 2 as well. So you're going to come, this is the opening tile right here. You're going to come out and you shoot left. See how that worked? And this is another example too, because so when I did this character, he had not had the Durance waypoint yet. So I teleported to get to the Durance waypoint. I went across and I got to the exit tile, right? And when you get to the exit tile, you're able to go, oh, well, since I know that to enter into the exit tile, I need to go left. That means if I go right from level 3, that will take me to the waypoint. And that's how this map ended up getting mapped out like that. You know, as you can see, I just shot straight across. This is the Catacombs level 2. So when it comes to doing the Catacombs level 2, you're going to go right from the waypoint. So when you come out of here, you would go right, right? Well, this is a reverse layout because how did I get there? Well, I went left, but this tile aims right from the entrance here. So if I moved this like this, I'll show you all real fast to give you all an example. Okay, so if I move this section here, and I move it over here, which way do you go to get into it? You're going to go right. And that's why it's called a reverse layout, because even though you had to go left, you still go right. It's the same thing still. It's just that it tricked you this time, right? And that's going to happen. But what it helps you with is kind of like picking your next zone that you're going to go to after the fact. And I could keep going on and on. Like this was like a fun thing. So like when I entered into here, I just went straight for the exit because anytime when you come in through the maggot lair, it's right, boom, right, boom. The next one, come in right, there's the exit, right? And then maggot lair level 3, straight up. I know there's going to be a ton of people in here that understand the suffering of not knowing that and traveling through the maggot lair and finding every single dead end before you find the exit. And understanding like the way that these tiles work is just another thing. Is there anybody that has any questions on the orientation or reverse layouts for this? Because that's going to be the most important things that y'all need to know for that. No, there's no way that you're going to know the reverse layout prior to doing the teleporting. You just find it and then you roll with it. You know, sometimes just because you know, like if you've traveled. So there's a good example for this, going back to the catacombs one. If you travel right, okay, and you've done every possible way to go right, well then you know now. Okay, so you go straight right, you go along this whole backside. You see, okay, I went everywhere I could if I wanted to go right. You come here all the way down here. You've gone everywhere you can to go right. Well, you're not going to go over here now. What you're going to do is you're going to shoot across the bottom side because that is going to lead you to the right, right? And it could be behind you. But then what are you going to do? Since you've gone through the whole bottom side, you don't have to go all the way. I mean, there are some really, really super jank Durance ones that where the level 3 will end up in the middle of the map, and that one I've only seen that one time, and that was super frustrating. But basically, you'll have when you go all the way down, all the way across the bottom here. Well, if there's nothing that leads right, then just shoot straight across the map to see if you can go up, because you don't need to worry about this whole side right here anymore. So there's a little bit of knowledge you can play here to like still, even if you get screwed, you can still speed it up. Okay. Next is shopping, and the reason why I picked shopping over like any of the other million things that I can show you is because of the countless hours somebody who doesn't understand this can waste, right? Like it's one of the reasons why you go from, well, I'm Hellbell the first day to Hellbell the second or third day is because of all of the time that you can spend in town, because you can spend countless hours just staring at your stash. Whenever you're shopping, you get in, you get out, right? You buy the things you need, you go back to running. The more time you spend running through maps and the less time you spend sitting there trying to like figure out, do I put these gloves on or these gloves? You're going to get a lot further. Right, like those stat points are probably not going to give you enough of a reason for you to sit there and stare at the screen. You want to find good times to go shopping. There's tons of those throughout the game. When you finish the Den of Evil, now good time to shop, sell your stuff, grab some stamina potions, move on. You know, whenever you finish Tristram, take your stuff, sell it, buy some stamina potions, move on. Stamina potions are super important during the early stages of a speed run. You're going to want to make sure you have tons of them. And what do I shop? Well, Pogo and I talked a little bit about this leading up to this. There's tons of like good options. Most of those things are going to be like things you're going to realize like with a little bit of practice, like belts. You can pick belts up after like a reset of town. You can pick up some belts in Act 1 from Charcy. Usually everybody's like wanting to get a belt by the time they get to Act 2 because they want those 3 rows of potions, right? But you got your 2-socket helmets, 2-socket armors. 2-socket armors are going to be great for stealth in the early runs and stuff like that. But overall, the most important thing you need to understand about shopping is eliminate as much time as you possibly can when sitting in town. Someone like Pogo, who's like really good at shopping, is going to be super annoyed with everybody standing around Akara, because he's like, dude, what are y'all doing? Like, everything's already shopped. Let's go. Like, what are y'all waiting for, right? Like, I'm sitting there stressing because I'm like, Pogo's gonna breathe down my neck if I, don't hurry up. Okay. Anybody have any questions on shopping beyond that? And if you feel like you want to chime in, Pogo, at the end of each section, just let me know. Yeah, I'm gonna make that list available. I think Pogo might still want to add some stuff to it or not, but I do plan on making not only that list available, but also putting out the map hack spreadsheet as well. It takes me a lot of time to write all that out, but eventually I'm gonna make sure that y'all get it. Yeah, so prior to practice runs for the serious group, there is a lot of talking about what kind of like expectations and like like I joke, like, I just want to be clear, I am joking about Pogo like breathing down our necks or stuff like that. It's very lighthearted, especially in the practice runs. We're very lighthearted about this. You're going to understand the expectations of everything as like time goes on. In the toggle run walk, toggle run walk is very important. If y'all don't know what that is whenever you're getting low on being able to run, if you start toggling run walk over and over again, there's kind of like a balance there. It will never deplete your last remaining stamina, and so that will be super helpful, obviously. Anyway, so but we definitely go over all of that prior to practice runs, and it's going to be something that's like super helpful. Some of those things are going to be like, if you find a 2-socket armor, please let somebody know, because the Telesork is like in desperate need of like a stealth early part of the game. And there's a few other things, like a 2-socket staff is like really nice. We can generally shop those from Drognin or Akara or something like that, because we want to make a leaf for the fire druid. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, so everything is community pooled in a speedrun. I know that there are a lot of groups that they want to roll for everything like very early on. They want to they're like, oh, who gets that tall rune? In a serious group, like, we don't care about that stuff. We basically somebody can end up with like all of the tall runes for all we care. The biggest thing is like, hey, when we need that stealth and we need to make a tall Eth, you're gonna drop that tall rune, so that way we can make that stealth, right? Like, everything is pooled. There have been 2. So the first season we rolled for stuff. This is something you discuss with your group before you run, but the first season we dropped a Maul rune, and we rolled for it. The second season we decided that we were going to split anything that we got during the runs, and even some of the stuff we did after the fact. And we ended up dropping an Oculus, and I think we sold it for like 1,800 Forum Gold or something like that. So everybody got like a decent split. So these are like obviously things you want to talk about, but yeah, Strange bought it. And yeah, there are benchmarks. So the biggest, and we'll go over that in just a minute. That's another future thing that I'm going to be going over, of like who gets what and so on and so forth. So, all right. So party composition. This one is, I would say it's actually the third most important thing, which is why I put it where it is. And the reason being is because if you have a poor party, like, let's just say everybody, this is not going to happen, but let's say everybody wants to start Javazon, right? You're never going to make it to Hellbell. I am sorry. It just is not going to happen. You're going to spend the entire season trying to get to Hellbell, because you're going to suck so hard. This is kind of like what it's going to look like. So in party composition, this is like the current, this is the current awesome party composition, and to put into like kind of show you guys like why it's so awesome. Like one of the examples here is going to be like Poison Druid, right? Like they basically stuff all of their points down the Poison Creeper's throat, and the damage is kind of insane in an 8-player game. This is our 8-player game. This is the teleporting Sork is right now holding an experience shrine, so it's huge because we want to get the teleporting Sork online as soon as possible. And then we just ran up on freaking Bing Bong over here, and the Poison Creeper is like, watch my experience. This isn't an 8-player game, right? Like we're all starting out, like everybody's trying to just like hit Fallens. My experience over here is like flying, and the creep, like all of the Fallen are going down. As soon as he hits Bishibosh, his life just starts freaking flying down, right? Like I'm not doing any damage, I promise you. I'm just hitting it. So that's like one of the reasons why the meta is important, because there's things like this going on in an 8-player game. Right now, all through Act 1, pretty much all of our damage is coming from Pogo as the Poison Creeper Druid. Like, nobody else is dealing damage. Maybe, like, when Static comes online, there's some damage that's involved there. When the Holy Bolt Paladins start firing off, there's some damage there. But we're very much so on the heels of Pogo to level at that point. There's nothing better. There was a little bit of us talking back and forth about like Holy Bolt Paladin versus a Holy Fire Paladin, like and for style points, I'll say Holy Fire Paladin is probably cooler, but Holy Bolt Paladin is truly insane as far as like the damage and how fast you're going to be like clearing through packs, and like you also add the utility of the fact that you're going to be healing the party members and stuff like that. It helps a ton. And then, of course, you literally can't have a single party without the Bow Leap Barb. I say Bow Leap Barb because I think a lot of people don't, like, they think of, like, the importance of bow, but you don't realize just how important, like, the Leap Barb is. The Leap Barb can, like, stun the entire screen easily. And he's huge. He's going to be, like, the first guy that's going to be jumping in every single portal as you progress. When the Telesork drops a portal, a lot of times it's hot as frick. So it's like Leap Barb first, he comes in, he just starts leaping, everything's frozen, and then the Paladins enter because they're tanky and they're a ton of damage, and then everybody else and so on and so forth. And that's just going to be, you're going to be dropping portals on champions packs and moving on. When y'all reach, like once you've killed Bale, that's when when like the Cold Sorks are going to swap over to Cold Sorks. Now their Blizzard is going to come online. They're going to be like about level 24. They're going to be, they're going to be dealing so much damage that, and you're going to be doing cows at that point that as the Paladins, you're going to feel completely pointless. You're going to be like, why do I exist? That's when y'all are going to switch over to Hammerdins. I'm going to go over at this point. There is a lot of people that want to go, oh, well, the Hammerdin is awesome or the Foden is awesome. There is no competition. The Hammerdin wins. The damage is insane, especially early on. The only place that I think that the Foden might shine in some ways or another is in Chaos Sanctuary, but even then, like, the damage is just too much. Like, if you're going to be running a serious group, there is no other like slot to put there. There's no competition between am I going to be running Fist of the Heavens or Hammerdin. It's just going to be Hammerdin. Blizzard Sorceress is just too good. You're not going to pass that up. Fire Druid swaps out immediately. Well, sometimes there's a little distinction between like immediately after Act 1 or or if you're going to stick to Poison Creeper for a little bit while longer, but especially once you get that Leaf online, you're probably going to want to switch over to Fire Druid at that point. The Poison Creeper's damage starts to drop off, and Fire starts to really ramp up. And then the only one who doesn't get 2 resets in the composition is going to be the Druid, and that is because Once we start getting into nightmare mode, everybody knows fire sucks. Everything's freaking immune to fire anyways, and switching over to the stun bear is complete insanity because it just stuns everything. Everything is locked down, and you can just deal damage to it. It adds so much safety to the party, as well as like just being a druid in general of having the oak sage in combination with the bow barb. Everybody's going to be like pretty padded, right? Like Hammerdins are tanks, right? Some people like I don't know if some people don't understand that. The Hammerdins early on are like I said, they're overpowered in their DPS, but they're completely overpowered in their tankiness too. As the Hammerdin in the party, you are going to be slapping on your Holy Shield and running into the midst of everything and dealing the damage. Because you're going to be... That's, like, one, you want to put hammers to the face of everything. You don't want to be standing behind the sorceresses, because as soon as they get hit, they're going to die. The auras are always going to be one person's running concentration. You could early on, we're going to have some of the paladins running like one's going to be wanting to run like cleansing at one point. One's going to be like for Indariel, it's going to suck if you don't have cleansing. One of them's going to be running like the resist lightning for Act 2. Like pretty much everybody's going to want you to be around for Act 2 because like everybody's going to be dying to the beetles otherwise. And then like when we get to like the early stages of like chaos in normal, we're going to want like resist fire, right? And then static. Static is your biggest damage throughout any part of the game. It doesn't matter what time you are there. If you're a sorceress and you're not doing static, you're wrong. This is like such a huge point for me because like even in Hell games, like early parts of the season, I think that you'll notice like all of a sudden like nobody can clear Hell Bells, and it's like why can't we clear Hell Bells? Like I know like in our speedrunning group, like we can clear Hell Bells like with like 3 people, right? The biggest thing there, and that's in an 8-man game. Like 3 people by ourselves in an 8-man game, we can clear it like early stages of the ladder. And I think a large part of that is just like, just simple things like if you're a freaking sorceress, like are you using static? Like that's a huge damage thing for the whole party. And then I've already mentioned the bow leap barb. So we'll move on from this. Does anybody have any questions? I see Billabong asked a question. As far as taking breaks in it to level, we do take some breaks. They're quick breaks, like, but generally you'll kind of like feel it out from the practice runs, and you'll know like, oh, I can go take a leak real fast. I have never seen anybody take like a like a 30-minute dump or anything like that. So y'all can kind of like figure that out, I guess. But other than that, yeah, we'll take a break. We'll run out, grab some food real fast, or you generally want to like prep that. Right, so you're not going to be wanting to sit there and like make dinner during the run. The serious group is about like how fast can we get there, and as you can see, like for our run, we made it there in like 5.5 hours. Right, so not too bad. And if you it's honestly it's like if you can't handle sitting there for that long, I don't know if like there's some way to like work on that for you, because it's just a huge part of doing it. It's a commitment. It really is. And the other groups, I'm sure, will be more than happy to like wait on you more. And if there's complications, the serious group does wait. But because we've had complications, and but it also, like, in that, it's like we also want you to like notice, like, hey, everybody's putting in a lot of effort for this, so we want you to, like, if you really do have to take time, we hope that it's important. As far as, like, other people fighting over the builds, there's some early parts, like, some people, like, will feel like, oh, well, I'm going to give this up so I can do this for the group, right? But I think pretty much at this point, like with the serious group, I think people understand that there's an innate value in just about every single one of these. I think if there's any one that maybe somebody doesn't want to run, it might be the druid. But even this season, like Pogo was all about it. Pogo, where are you still at on the ladder right now? Are you still in the top like 10, top 15 or something like that for druids.
I haven't looked today, but he was up really high. I looked yesterday, yes.
Yeah, so that's like huge, right? Like, yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Buck, exactly. That's crazy. Good
yeah.
shit, by the way, Bogo. And sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, Damien. But yeah, like if you want to, if like there definitely are times when I'm like, hey guys, I gotta run pee or whatever. But you pick your times, like hold it for a minute. You kind of know like, hey, in a second I'm gonna have a moment to go pee. Hey, in a second I'm gonna have a moment to yell at the kids or spank them or whatever. Hey, in all I have to do is like finish this one map and then I can go scarf some food down really quickly or whatever, right? It's just stuff that you're gonna figure out through doing the mock runs and stuff like that. Does anybody have any more questions over party composition? Yeah, so it's basically till you're done. For the serious group, it is hell bell or nothing. Like we do not sleep until it's done. For some of us, it's not so bad. Like when did we? Let's see. If it started off at 7 before, we finished a little bit after midnight for me. But for people like Pogo, the sun's coming up, right? So, it just kind of depends. Like he starts at like what 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So it can be pretty rough for some people, depending on like your time zone and when it launches off. So, but that's the commitment, right? Like that's the part of like saying I want to be a serious group versus some other group. It's going to be about making sure that you can put up that commitment of like I'm going to be there throughout the whole thing. Because like if we have a run and you're the Bobarb and you're like, hey guys, like I'm tired. It's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go to bed. We're totally effed for that run. Like, this is going to suck so hard, right? Yeah, we'll go into splits and stuff like that in a minute. But that is something that we have not employed very much, and it's something that can be huge for doing your runs. Okay, so moving out to callouts and stuff like that. It's really important to keep the comms kind of clear while you're doing your runs and stuff like that. We tend to joke around, especially early on. The energy is like pretty hyped. We're joking around, which is pretty funny because honestly, like the best time to keep the comms clear is is the early parts of it because there's so much to call out so quickly during like Act 1 and moving on to Act 2 and stuff like that. It really kind of slows down for like Act 3 and on, but even on until like Nightmare and stuff. But but we generally have like a lot of energy going into it, so we'll joke around, a lot during the beginning. I call out every freaking Grand Charm as a skiller in Act 1. So, and then as far as like what your call outs are going to be like, okay, so you have 8 people in a party, everybody's running around, everybody's doing their deal, and then you found the freaking tower in the Black Marsh, and you're like, my TP for Countess, and everybody's going to say it all at once. Who is that? Because we don't know who to go into, right? It's generally, and if you want to be calling it out, it's always easiest to like call out whatever name your character is, right? So you're going to say, Inks TP for Countess, right? Like that's going to be always like how it's going to go. You're going to say your name first, because we're already going to start looking for your name, because we probably already know what you're doing, and then we're going to find it. Once it's been found, the TP spawn on like in town in the same place for everybody. So then that's going to be when everybody's going to say it's in the top right, it's in the center, it's in the bottom left, kind of thing like that, right?
I was going to interrupt you to say that. I caught that watching y'all the first time and implemented it in mine, and that helped so much. Just saying that little, Inks TP top right.
Yeah.
Sitting at the look at every single that his. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
okay.
It saves you time. Like because imagine if every time to get everybody into the portal, everybody's sending, 5 seconds to do that. Those 5 seconds do add up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions about callouts? That's a really simple one, but it is kind of like, it's very helpful. Nope. Okay. Okay, splits. Splits is the difference, as you can see here, from an hour and 40-minute Hellbell, which is totally possible. That's the world record currently, is an 8-man party to Hellbell in an hour and 40 minutes, versus like our most recent one, which is 5.5 hours for Hellbell, right? Some of these like splits will include things like when you hit Act 2, you're gonna have like one guy is gonna go pick up like the skill book for Radament. Another, oh yeah, there Pogo corrects me. It's actually an hour and 37 minutes and 45 seconds. So that's even better, right? You have like one person's like running it, like when I say one person, y'all are all leaving town. You're gonna like go pick up the like somebody finds the halls of the dead, right? They're gonna go split off and go find the cube. Another guy's gonna keep going with the rest of the party. They're going to find, like, the maggot lair. Hopefully by that time, if things have been going pretty well, you've already got a telesork, like, online. Or maybe if things are going, like, really not well, you already have a telesork online. And then another guy's going to keep going for, like, for the Viper Amulet, right? And when you do these things, if you look at our run, it's generally, like, like, we do a little bit of, like, splitting in those moments, but in a lot of ways, like, it's very like called out, like everybody's kind of like doing this thing together. We're all worried about, like, we don't have a lot of damage going on. People don't know 100% like how to play their classes like a freaking hour and 40-minute pro. And so like, they'll die or they won't be dealing the damage because they're not like doing the right rotation with their skills, like static, 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 nova, nova, right? Something like that. But this is something that we're definitely looking into doing more of in the next season, is like figuring out all the best splits and then trying to make sure that like when we go into the next season, whoever's going to be part of this party or that party, they know, hey, I'm handling this in this moment because that's going to help us. Like, I mean, that like I said, it's gonna clear up so much time on doing these runs. It's going to be insanity. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. All right. I'll wait for Billabong to finish. I mean, you can have a split template up. Like, that's kind of like whatever like resources that you want to build for your, like, we do build some resources like leading up to the run, but like if it's like very specific to you, a lot of times like that's going to be something you're going to want to build for yourself. Like I built like a skill tree planner for myself, like going into the run. I know a few other people did something similar. We do kind of, I know during the second season, like season 2, we built a planner for like, first we're going to do this and then we're going to go do this, and like some of them called out like who's doing that and who's making the next games and stuff like that. But some things that might be like specific to you, I might not put that in the template because it's going to be something that like we've practiced like a dozen times leading up to that, and it's going to be like expected of you to like know, like, hey, I need to do this. And if it's something that you're going to have a hard time remembering, build this yourself a template that says, hey, when we hit Act 2, I'm the guy that's getting the amulet kind of deal. I'm the guy that gets to freaking deal with the freaking vipers and being slammed around and insta-dying, Let's see what Pogo has to say. If it's anything smart, Pogo, I'm kicking you. Yeah, that's true. That's part of calling it out too as well. Like, so when there's certain items like getting the Heraldric Malice that if you don't stay in Act 1, because usually we turn that in like right at the very end of the act, don't travel to Act 2 first. we're going to turn that in, because if you travel to Act 2, you now have lost the ability to like get an imbue, and by the time we hit like we finish or we're about to finish like Bale, there could be a call out to say, hey, who wants to give up their imbue quest so we can imbue a few wands and see if we can get a faster cast rate wand, right? Because it's like we've been pretty lucky in our last 2 seasons that I would say actually lucky in the fact that we've had them drop for us, and also unlucky in the fact that when we have tried to roll a really sweet wand, we pretty much have never like hit really good ones. But I will say, and I'll show you all in a minute, Pogo hit a pretty sweet early game circlet this season as well. So as far as gearing is concerned, the number one things that we need is like everything for the Telesork. Okay, everybody's gear sucks. It's gonna suck all the way up into Hellbell, and I'll show you all that in just a minute. The Telesork is like the pimped out ride. Like, just imagine like the Telesork is like the freaking DeLorean, and we're all just riding it to Hellbell, right? And we just want to pimp it out, put as much fuel into it as we can to get it there. That's what's going on. So we're pimping it out with as much faster cast rate as we can. We're putting the stealth on it early on. You're going to do potentially like a few tower runs. Like we do a couple tower runs, and then we call it quits because we just got to move on. We can't worry about RNG so much that we spend like an hour doing tower runs over and over again. Then we're going to, if we drop a faster cast rate ring, which is going to be like one of the things that you're going to look at whenever you rescue Deckard Cain, you want to check to see, hey, did I get a faster cast rate amulet? A lot of times we can manage to get those faster cast rate amulets before we even get out of Act 1. Same with the amulet. It actually has a very good chance of dropping a faster cast rate amulet in Act 1. Or a wand and orb with faster cast rate is also really, really good. Number 2 is going to be Leaf, and that's going to be for bringing online that the Fire Druid in a truly powerful way when we hit Act 2. Third, we're going to be worried about getting that stealth again. We actually want to get at least 2 stealths during the run, because we want to manage the second teleporting sorceress if we can. That's going to come in handy for a few different things, especially if we end up doing like massive splits during the run. Having another teleporting sorc with as good as faster cast rate as we possibly can is also going to come in handy, which you're going to probably cap out at 63. If you've got more faster cast rate than 63, start seeing what you can give away to the other sorceress to see if we can bring her more online as well. And then the last thing is going to be really the Ancient's Pledge. We really want spirits too later on, but like during our run, we never managed to get a single spirit, and honestly, I can say that like while it might have sped up the run some for like some extra damage or something like that, it really didn't make like that big of a difference as far as like being able to push, and that's just some experience with somebody that like has a little bit of experience, like really knowing like how to teleport around monsters, really understanding like the layouts and stuff like that, and that's gonna like a huge deal. Okay, so let's see. You ever make a new game if someone dies in a bad spot? Oh yeah. We wouldn't make a new game. We'll just like I just pull my Telesork out and bring it back in like real quick. I wouldn't have to make a new game. I would just do that. If I try to put up some TPs along the way, so that way if I end up like dying, I can put up a TP, say, hey, can somebody copy this? I'm gonna peace out, come back, and then keep moving. Right, so that's like a huge deal, is like making sure that your like TPs along the way are copied, so that way when you die, because you will, I mean you're just completely undergeared. You're not like we had one part in our run that really sucked. I think like Pogo had a TP at the Ariat Summit, and then I think this was a nightmare, and then he dipped. I don't know if he was getting his body or if he was trying to do something. I think he was actually doing trying to reset his build to the stun bear is what was going on. And when he left, he actually happened to be the only person with an Ariat Summit TP up at the time. And so then it was like, oh, well, I don't have this waypoint. I don't have this waypoint because the only person that had it was what had most of anything was like the teleporting stork. I try to put up some waypoints along the way, but not all the time am I completely worried about that. And so then I had to go back to, I think it was like the Crystalline Passage or something like that, and teleport all the way back to the Ariat Summit, because as a teleporting stork, I was too low level to do Bail at the time, and which isn't an issue usually, because we're just gonna do chaos runs at the end of everything. Like, expect as a teleporting stork, it's a good possibility that at level 34 is when you're gonna reach Hell Chaos Sanctuary, whereas everybody else is gonna be like pretty like 50s or something like that, right? Let's see. Yeah, all of Act 5 basically, yeah. Yeah, and no pogo's like, in normal I still have only 3 waypoints. Because, yeah, I mean, you just, like, along the run, you're pushing as fast, like, you don't care about so many waypoints. Like, I have, all my characters, like, basically don't have any waypoints. Okay, and then, like, at the end of the runs, so, like, a lot of times we'll do some, like, waypoint sharing. Maybe if you're really dedicated to, like, getting a bunch of waypoints, you know, the other sorceresses will kind of like try and pick up a few different waypoints that will be helpful like later on, and then we'll share that with the rest of the group, right? And that's like stuff that you plan like ahead of time, like, hey, this is important to me, when can we make this happen? Like, for some people, they wanted to make sure that they had other characters online other than what was in the composition. Okay, like everybody wants a sorceress, right? So something that we do is we're like, hey, as soon as we come online, we'll do a G rush like ASAP to make sure that you can have that character online as soon as possible. This was my gear when I killed Hail Bell. Okay, I've got 2 faster cast rate rings, a faster cast rate amulet with 10 mana on it. That's pretty GG because mana is super clutch. This wand with faster cast rate and mana, that's super GG in my mind. This circlet that Pogo imbued during the run, faster run walk is huge because even as the teleporting sorceress, there's going to be times when you're going to want to do a little bit of like running, and I got this like super early on. I think actually we got it so early on that I needed to level up before I could wear it. Like, that's how early on we got it. And then the mana is huge as well, right? A little bit, actually, even the damage reduction can be pretty nice. But as you can see, like, I don't have like super GG gear, and I can promise you that almost every single person in the party had worse gear than this, and we cleared the whole game with that, right? So you don't need like super amazing gear, and you can push really fast. Any questions before we move on from gear? Yeah, this is Hell Bell gear. Yeah, the Pogo's like, I only had an Ancient Pledge. That's it. So I'd say the worst part of the run was probably the Chaos Sanctuary in Hell, and that was just because, one, we're doing a lot of runs there, but two, like, one of the members decided that, and this is kind of like what cemented it for the group, is like one of the members decided that they were going to be going Fist of the Heavens, and it really just wasn't putting out the damage, and then we had to make sure that, like, hey, does the Hammerdens understand that they're the front line? We had, like, we just weren't geared, so we're just dying like crazy in general. Like, that's to be expected, and that's actually a big point that actually I probably should have put in here, is you need like kind of a little bit of thick skin going into this, because like, even like I'm pretty tilt proof for the most part when I'm playing this game, and I can get pretty tilted by how many times I start dying sometimes as the Telesork. It's just, as a Telesork, that's just like the burden that you bear, but everybody's going to die a lot. It's just what happens. Like, this is not a hardcore run, right? Like, at all. Okay, so another thing is like Bail and Beyond, right? So whenever you plan for a serious run, a huge and very important thing that you want to plan for is what does the group want to do? I know Pogo, I think, is like really like he desperately desires a group that wants to like be the first to a torch, right? Usually our groups don't do that. We don't do that, but it's something that I've also been considering like as time goes on. But that's something that you want to plan with your group because it's like these are big things. Like they're kind of like they're bragging rights. Like we got like you'd be like, oh, I got a torch like 10 hours into the game. Like that's pretty sweet, right? Like especially because that means that y'all did the torch too, right? Like you didn't just get the keys and quit. Like you actually did it all. But this is it's a huge thing, and one of the reasons why we're planning on like doing more of this and like opening up more and more to the guild and like just completely random people joining in and learning more and more of this stuff is because it'd be really cool to plan out 2 groups, and it wouldn't be just like one group is like us that have done this a bunch of times, and then the other group is going to be like a bunch of random people that haven't ever done this before. One of the things that we're talking about is like splitting the groups to basically be like the more experienced players are going to be split into the 2 groups and like making it more of a competition. And I imagine that, to be honest with you, we'll probably end up with like even like if you feel like, oh, I'm just not very experienced at this, you would still hit that 5.5 hour mark or better with just a little bit of practice. And other than that, does anybody have any more questions? Anything that they're like specifically like, well, how do you do this? Is there any more information on X, Y, and Z? I understand that some people do this for speedrunning. Any questions? And you can just all unmute yourselves at this point. Like,
No, now you just got me wanting to do a speed run tomorrow.
No, you're not going inside. All you want to do is bark your pedal.
I think that I've covered about everything I want to cover. Is there anything that you can think of, Pogo, at the moment that would be beneficial to this at all? I'll bring up one more thing, actually. I just remembered while Pogo's thinking of it. Something I've been thinking about, and Pogo thinks I'm crazy on it, is thinking about this third sorceress right here being an assassin. And that's just because corpse explosion is a very powerful thing, right? And that's also why I've even considered the possibility of it being a necromancer as well. We did our season 2 with a necromancer, right? We didn't, because season 2 wasn't as like planned out, wasn't as practiced, wasn't as like we were all getting to know each other a little bit more. And I honestly feel like hey Billabong, I know I said you could unmute, but could you mute yourself? Because the audio keeps coming through. The necromancer, like there's a huge difference in the feeling of that run and our Chaos Sanctuaries this time around. Even though our time was like an hour faster this time, I think that the Chaos runs in Season 2 were way smoother, and I feel like a lot of that had to do with like just having that Necromancer, having a lot of it being the corpse explosion, because I don't even think he had a lot of minions at the time, but it's been a minute since I did that run, so I don't 100% remember everything that went into that, but I'm sure Pogo's like, dude, this man's crazy. I know we've done a little bit of talking back and forth on it, but it's something that will take like a lot more dedication than I think like we have to be able to put together 8-man groups that want to go all the way to hell and then just see how it performs, right? So that's kind of like why stuff like this is like slow moving, because the people that are doing this, you know, we're just at a place where we're just copying them, right? We're not doing an hour and 40-minute bell runs and then thinking like, oh, well, how can I innovate this to be better, right? Yeah. Well, and actually, which I think honestly you'd actually probably want instead of amp damage is lower resists, right? You're doubling up on that conviction with the lower resists. You're dropping them like so far down. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Anyways, for those that dropped in a little bit late, I am building this. This is the map hack for your mind in Excel, basically. It's going to be everything that we know about the runs as of right now. Like, hey, if this happens, do this way. You know, if you're in the hole, clockwise will lead you to the next level. Clockwise also always means like to the right, whereas like counterclockwise will always mean to the left, right? So it just depends on, like, some people break it down with left and rights. I often do left and rights, and some people break it down with like counterclockwise or clockwise. Okay, guys, that's all I got. Other than that, we can just move on to just enjoying each other's company in this beautiful Group 3 channel.